everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Tell Me Your Story, where I get to interview very talented artists and we get to know a little bit more about who they really are. Today, I'm so happy and so excited. I actually brought all my equipment down from Puerto Vallarta Studio 72, and I'm here in the home of none other than Jaime Valle. I'm super excited. Wait till you hear some of his stories. Pretty incredible. So I'm going to read a little bit of his bio, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the interview. Here we go. Jaime Valle was born 1947, November 17th, in the city of Tapachula, Chiapas. However, he was raised in Tijuana, Baja California. He is a guitar player and member and founder of the jazz rock group, the Downbeats, the jazz rock Mexican band, the Downbeats, and Love Army, pioneers of rock en español in Mexico. In 1971, after he attended the Escuela Libre de Música in the city of Mexico, Jaime came to live in the United States, and he continued his studies under the tutelage of the legendary masters Mundell Lowe, Ted Green, Joe Pass, Tommy Tedesco, Johnny Diorio, and Howard Roberts. He was the founder of the prestigious Musicians Institute of Technology of Los Angeles, California. Actually, Jaime is a member of the American Federation of Teachers, AFT, and director of the Jazz Guitar Ensemble and teacher of harmony, theory, and jazz studies in the faculty of Mesa College in San Diego, California. Among many things that he's accomplished, he has recorded and shared the world stage with legendary jazz artists and other great musicians such as the Four Tops, Steve Allen, Frankie Lane, Sammy Davis Jr., Dave Valentine, Eddie Harris, Joe Farrell, Kenny Burrell, Ron Eschet, Russell Malone, Ramon Banda, Ernie Watts, Alex Acuna, Cliff Allman, Tanya Maria, Bob Magnuson, Big Joe Turner, Larry Vukovich, Jeff Chambers, John Lee Hooker, Solomon Burke, Dave Pike, Joe Pass, Mike Wofford, Lamont Johnson, Mundell Lowe, Howard Roberts, Poncho Sanchez, Mongo Santamaria, Otmaro Ruiz, Steve Tabaglione, Luis Gasca, Gilbert Castellanos, Duncan Moore, Rob Thorson, Bunny Brunel, Anthony Ortega, Luis Conte, Alan Phillips, Holly Hoffman, Rob Thorson, Justo Almario, Luca Bulgarelli, Marcello Di Leonardo, and many more. He has also been awarded various international awards. Here's the short list. Voted Musician of the Year 1994, the San Diego Readers Poll, San Diego Music Awards Best Latin Jazz from the years 94, 95, 96, 97, 99, 2000, and 2002. Also Best Mainstream Jazz 2003, 2005, 2006. Best Jazz Album 1994, Around Midnight. Top International Hong Kong. Best Jazz Album 1996, Different World, Mundo Diferente. Top Music International Hong Kong. Best Jazz Album 1998, Third Voyage, Music International Hong Kong. Best Jazz Album 2004, Vital Signs, Blueport Jazz. And also films and documentaries. The short list are Tijuana Jews Original Soundtrack, New York Tel Aviv Film Festival, Love Always Original Soundtrack, Miramax, Weston Suite Original Soundtrack, Carmel, California, and Desert Jews Original Soundtrack, New York Tel Aviv Film Festival. Jaime, thank you so much for opening your doors. It's such a pleasure to be here in your home.
Welcome to San Miguel.
Thank you so much. How about we have a salucita
Empezamos bien.
con tequilita? What are we drinking, by the way?
Mira, Cantera Negra.
Cantera Negra, El Capricho.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
El caldo de oso, as we know it here.
Caldo de oso. That's funny. Okay, so I am. I have been a one of your fans for many years because, as you know, I'm also a part-time musician, but I admire musicians such as yourself that have made an impact not only in the little place where I'm from in San Diego, but all over the world. And as I'm learning more about you, I'm quite impressed. And thank you again for opening your doors, Jaime. Appreciate
Bienvenido,
that.
bienvenido.
So let's get started. Tell me a little bit about Tapachula, because I had no idea that you were from Chiapas.
I'll tell you very little bit.
Okay.
I was born in Tapachula, and then I stayed there for one day. That's it.
Just one day.
One day, yeah. And we moved. My father was a custom officer between Mexico and Guatemala. I was born right at the river, the Usumacinta. There's a song in Different World called Usumacinta.
Okay.
It's just an effects thing, but that's what I remember from it, if I can remember. So from there, my father was relocated by the government to the customs office in Tijuana.
In Tijuana. That's how you ended up in
That's
Tijuana.
how the whole thing started.
Okay. Tell me a little bit. So your father was a customs agent. Was he originally from Chiapas as well?
No. My father was, I don't know, a good 300 years older than my mother.
Okay.
He was a Navy merchant marine in Mexico.
Okay.
They met in La Paz.
Okay.
When he was Capitán de Puerto in La Paz.
Mm-hmm.
Then somehow he was always traveling. He's originally from Veracruz.
Oh, okay, Veracruz. Okay.
Jarocho. Yeah.
Jarocho.
And then ended up in Tijuana. In Tijuana, he went from different jobs. He went from being a custom office to being a judicial.
Okay.
You know, and the whole scene of being son of a cop landing on me. That's how it started. Because I remember when he used to make the rounds at the Revolucion Street, Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
I was a very little kid, but he always had me with it. I must have been 89 years old, and he had me by the hand. Sometimes he would taking care of business or whatever he had to do, because he was a plainclothes cop.
Oh, I see.
So he would take me with me, and one time I remember he took me into the Convoy Club, and he told Lauro Quesada, the owner of that, keep an eye on my kid while I come back. And I stay there, and then Javier Batis was playing there.
Javier Batis.
Yeah.
Guitar, famous
Yeah,
guitar
he was
player.
playing the guitar. Willie, and then his brother El Avión later on became bass player of the Moonlights, and the Solitarios used to play there too in the afternoon. So he eventually left me there.
Was it a plan of his to
No,
have you listen to music?
That's
or?
the way he was. He could be at the bar drinking, and he left me there.
Okay.
You know, and induced. I never know what he was doing. So that's how we started going to the main street, like in La Corona, Calle Revolucion.
Mm-hmm.
The Convoy Club was with a new Woolworth service now in Tijuana. The old Convoy Club. And after a while, I started getting interested in music, and in the colonia where I lived, some of the barbers that I used to hang with, they taught me some chords.
Mm-hmm.
One of them happened to be working on Sundays at the Bum Bum Club. When I was 13, he sent me as a sub because he had to do some military service on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, all I know is one song, which was Walk Don't Run. And I think Jose told you that one. And that's what I would play. As he just told me, if the guy at the door gives you a flashlight, it means you have to play that song. And if the sailors will walk in, then you can stop.
Now let's do a little qualifier for some of the people that may not know. Tijuana and La Calle Revolucion is very, very famous for being a party town, for being...
That's where all the sailors used to come in those days.
Yeah.
In those days, they actually used to come in with a uniform. And
now, what year are we talking?
We're talking about 61.
60-61. Because San Diego was a Navy town.
Navy town.
And then a lot of people would go to Tijuana, underage drinkers.
Well, in those days, in the beginning, when I started playing there was mainly sailors.
Okay.
And then as the 60s kicked in, the go-go and the hippie scene came in, then more younger American surfers used to come down. Then the clubs changed their format from strippers to attract sailors to dance floors and bands to keep the surfers dancing, the underage drinkers.
Because I remember there were reports that a lot of the sailors would get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, but they in those days they had the military police that was allowed to come from the States to pick them up and take them back.
So that's probably what happened, because a lot of the drunken sailors would come down and raise hell and get drunk, get put in jail.
Marines and sailors would get in fights.
Yeah, but of course, La Revolucion had a famous history of being a party town, a lot of music, a lot of bands. Still.
Yeah, well, not as much as then.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a kid, my sister and I, let's go to Tijuana, and we used to get in the clubs, and we didn't have to be 18, and we could drink, you know.
That's right, yeah.
Then that's when the hippies and the...
Yeah, then the club owners got hip to that, and they started catering to the younger kids, especially during the summer, when the bullfights were happening. You get tons of 14, 15, 16 years coming in there and drinking their brains out.
I was one of them.
Yeah, I don't doubt. So that was opened up the jobs for a lot of people like me. We started to play whatever the covers were on the radio, you know.
Right.
We used to listen to KCBQ and the radio from San Diego. You know, in those days there was no Mexican money in Tijuana. No Mexican money whatsoever. You know, if you find a peso on the street, it wouldn't make anything.
It wouldn't mean anything.
It has to be $1 or a nickel or a dime.
Yeah.
In those days, it was like that.
Let's hold off a little bit, because we're getting ahead.
Yeah.
I think people would really love to know a little bit more about how you got started. I know you got there to Tijuana. You were very, very young, but was obviously your dad wasn't from a musical background?
Nobody in my family.
Nobody. Were you the only one?
Yeah.
How many kids?
11.
11 kids. Wow. And where were you in the hierarchy?
I was the first one.
The oldest.
Yeah. And like my mother said, I should have stopped right there. That's what she said.
Really?
Yeah. Rest in peace, man.
Why is that?
She died in 96, 90 something. Yeah, 96.
You were a handful, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, you know, I basically took off. I had my own apartment when I was like 15.
Really?
Yeah, in Tijuana.
Why? Why did you leave home?
It's just, well, it's hard to get to the colonias. You know, when you live up in the colonias and the bus and all that stuff, you might as well, if I was...
Up in the las favelas, up in the mountains?
Up in the favelas in Tijuana. So I was just stayed in Centro, in Avenida Revolucion.
Where the action was happening.
Yeah, it was okay over there. I used to get up and go to school. You know, I went to school and...
On your own?
Yeah.
Now, when did you pick up a guitar? When did you get influenced?
I picked up the guitar. The whole thing started because my father was a cop. He came home with a guitar. He came home with a guitar that it was probably confiscated from someplace. He came in there. He liked tangos. He liked to sing tangos.
Okay.
You know, and he brought the guitar there, and I started fiddling around with the guitar. Then I knew there was guys in the neighborhood that played the guitar, so they showed me a few chords.
Okay.
And from there it went downhill. You know, I started to play.
Literally downhill, down to La Revolucion.
Yeah. And in those days, I remember Elvis Presley was hot. You know.
Uh-huh.
So I liked that. I liked Elvis a lot. I liked Fabian, Frankie Allen.
Now, did you hear it, or did you see it on TV, or how did you?
I hear that a lot because I had neighbors that were older than me. They were teenagers, you know.
Okay.
Some of them were, you know, 16, 17.
And you were around 9, 10, or how old were you?
Yeah, we're around 8, 9, 10, all that.
Okay.
So they started to, there was always parties, you know, with a little record player and the 45s.
Yeah.
Playing music from Paul Anka, Bobby Rydell, you know, that kind of stuff in the 60s, you know.
Okay.
50s, actually. There was music in the 50s. And they were still playing the Elvis and all that. That's why I got into that music, rock and roll. I never played any Mexican music when I was a kid. I was too close to the States.
Okay.
And everything that came in. When I started playing in the Avenida Revolucion, in the main street, the Beatles didn't exist. To the world, they didn't exist. All we played was B.B. King, Ray Charles, Albert King, Bobby Blue Bland, James Brown. It was all that, and then we had a lot of black audience that used to come to dance at the clubs from San Diego.
Okay.
I remember an anecdote that one time I was playing at San Susi, and a bunch of guys were 3 o'clock in the morning. We're eating, and then there's a rockola playing a song. It's Love Me Do. Love Me Do.
Yeah.
And then we all agreed, that song sucks. These guys will never make it. These guys will never make it because, you know, we played with rhythm and blues. That sounded like a country music. So
that's right.
So we decided that day, the night that the Beatles were never going to make it.
That's funny.
That's funny. That's how bad we were out.
Okay, so you got influenced by your neighbors. You
Yeah.
picked up the guitar. You liked it. Then what happened? How did you start?
I started playing because this guy needed a substitute.
Okay.
One of the guys who was teaching me, El Concho, he was going on Sunday. He was working at the Bum Bum Club. He needed a substitute. And there's nobody. He showed me a few courses. And you play that every time they give you a light from the door. The doorman will flash a light. That means there's sailors coming on the street. You play that song, make a lot of noise.
What song was that?
Walk, Don't Run. It was just go not even the
to
melody.
attract the sailors.
Yeah. And then once they come in, you can stop. And I did that from 6 in the morning to 6 at night.
Oh my God.
The same thing. Nobody mind. So I did that, and eventually you start picking up the songs. The bar next door was the Aloha Bar.
Yeah, Aloha.
That guy hired me, and then by that time, you know, time went by. I started.
You learned a few more chords.
Yeah. I started learning blues. You start learning Ray Charles, and then you pick it up. It was a lot of information in Tijuana those days. You know, you cannot copy from everybody. You know, and so that's how I started moving up. The next day Aloha, then it ended up in the Mike's Bar. I upgraded myself.
Did you play in the Unicornio?
No, no, but I did play in the Chicago club. It was totally nude place.
Because the Unicornio was only for gay strippers or transvestites.
Yeah, it was trannies. No, the San Susi was like that too.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were not girls until I went backstage to pick up my case, and I saw them.
First hand.
Yeah.
So Jaime, there's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
As we were talking a little bit earlier, we're going to go through stages.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did your Tijuana stage end, and where did you go from there?
Well, my Tijuana stage ended when I was around 17. It must have been, I don't know, not too sure. Sometime around 1965, 66.
Okay.
Alberto Isordia, a.k.a. El Pájaro, leader of the Tijuana Five, a very high-end group from Tijuana in those days, the band had split, and he had been in Mexico and Acapulco. He drafted me to join a group that was being sponsored by a very wealthy man, Alfredo Elias Calles. He's a grandson of Plutarco Elias Calles, one of the ex-presidents of Mexico.
Okay.
He was opening a very nice discotheque in Acapulco, Tiberius. So I agreed with him, and I left Tijuana at that time to never come back. And I went to Mexico City with the rest of the band. It was me, it was Albert, Salvador Martinez on the bass, Fernando House on the drums, and Fernando Castañeda on the keyboards. They hired us and they paid us very good money every week just to rehearse.
To go to
Mexico City.
Mexico City
To rehearse, to prepare to go to Acapulco.
in one of the best
Not
nightclubs.
one of the best, the best.
The best nightclub.
To this date, it's considered the best as ever.
Tiberius.
Tiberius. Yeah.
I'd never heard of that.
Oh.
Now let me ask you: did you have fun in Tijuana? Was it a good experience?
I had a lot of fun. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I learned.
I mean, that's where you really got your chops. Where you
Well,
learned.
not really.
No?
No, Tijuana was not really a musical journey for me. It was more like a learning things, because Tijuana didn't have the facilities. Everybody was like me, picking here and there. You know, there was no organized schooling. When I got to Mexico City, there was organized schooling.
So Tijuana was more a survival stage.
Yeah. They taught me things.
And getting into a little taste of what it was to become a musician.
I was basically attracted by the creatures of the night, and I liked it. And that's when I said, "This is where I belong."
I see.
And there are creatures of the night everywhere. So when I went to Mexico City, I looked for them, and there found them.
You found it.
Yeah. And in Mexico City, it was, it's a real city. It's a Tijuana was. In those days, it was 100,000 people.
No, not much.
Right now, there's what, 3 or 4 million?
Yeah.
But so when I went to Mexico City, I went into 8 or 9 million people in those days.
Mm-hmm.
Now Mexico City has over 28 million.
So tell me about your experience in Mexico City and Tiberias.
In Mexico City, it was fun. We were there just training.
Okay.
We went to Acapulco, and we had a period of maybe 4 or 5 years in Acapulco.
Mm-hmm.
Just playing in Acapulco, just Acapulco Gold time.
That's when all the Hollywood actors.
Yeah.
And
We used to go with Sofia Loren, Carlo Ponti. Everybody it's the golden era of Acapulco in those days, the jet set. I was lucky to be there and participate in that partying and playing and being at that age where you don't care. Yeah. Everything is easy.
Right.
So I was right, fine.
And the age 17 to 25.
But
26.
I forgot to tell you something.
Okay.
By 17, I was already married.
You were?
Yes.
So young.
I was, yeah. How do you like that? I was married, but it was one of those marriages because my wife, Susan, is from San Diego.
Okay.
So she came to live with me in Tijuana for a little while, and then she got to San Diego. And then she came to San Diego. Then I went to Acapulco, she came to visit me. So it was one of those 6 months of the year marriages.
Okay.
And it lasted 13 years like that.
Wow.
But it was lasted because we were all the time.
You were together all the time.
Yeah. And we had a kid, Josh Valle, was just like
Okay.
He's a legend in his own mind right now in San Diego.
Is he a musician?
He's a bass player, but he played with Buddy Blue. Remember Buddy Blue? He's a big legendary guy in San Diego that played blues.
Okay.
So right now he's also.
How old is he now?
He's in his 40s, late 40s. Yeah. So he's pulled back. He didn't invest his life in it. He's got a regular job. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I had to throw that in because if Susan sees this thing, she's gonna go, "What?
You didn't
What
tell
was
me."
that?"
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome to say.
Yeah.
Hi, Sue.
Yeah.
Very nice. So
I
that
went
was.
In Acapulco. It was just the band under the auspices of Fred Aguilar's Calles. He pushed us to be creative. He told us to write it in Spanish.
Okay.
Stop singing Beatles. Stop singing this. Write about your country. So we started doing that. Mm-hmm. And Albert, a fan of Bob Dylan, started writing protest songs. So we recorded for Orfeon, the label Orfeon. The records with the lyrics got out on this. One that mainly, it was called Caminata Cerebral. In English is Walk Within My Brain. That had lyrics the government didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
So they were censored.
Do you remember who the president was at that time?
Yeah, Alfredo Díaz Ordaz, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. His son was a fan of us and followed us around.
Uh-huh.
He died in L.A. He was a wannabe drummer.
Oh.
So he was, I don't know if, that was the period anyway, Alfredo Díaz Ordaz. So the government in Mexico City censored the stuff. You can find that on YouTube and Wikipedia, the story about Love Army being censored.
Because of protest songs.
Yeah, and the lyrics. And you can hear the actual tunes in Spanish and in English on YouTube.
Did you guys get into some sort of trouble, or what
happened? The harassment, yeah.
Harassment by
Harassment,
government.
and that's why I ended up living in 70 or 71 around there, deciding that I wanted to go back to the States because my son was already born, living in San Diego.
Okay.
So I said, I'm going over there.
So one, you wanted to be a good father,
right?
Father figure, and also you're getting a little trouble in Mexico.
Yeah. So I left the band, and that was the ending of my Mexico connection.
Okay.
I went to San Diego. I knew no one. I started working as a shipping and delivery guy at Apex Music, legendary music store in San Diego, Apex Music.
Yeah.
I went there because I bought my instruments there, and I knew George Ulcher, the owner, who is now 90-something, and George said, yeah, all I can give you the job is down there, is because you don't speak English for shit. So I said, okay, and I got it. Eventually, at the time when I worked there for a little while, to make a long story short, I ended up being the manager of the store.
Okay.
With the help of...
Is that the store that was in downtown San Diego?
7th and Broadway.
On Broadway?
7th and Broadway.
I remember that place.
Yeah. So I became... And then...
so you were cutting boxes in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you moved your way up to be the store manager.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then from there, I was done nice and stable. A local, very famous entertainer in San Diego, Vegas type entertainer, played trombone, played the flute, sang, played the bass, everything. Yeah, he was actually the bass player of the Righteous Brothers.
What's his name?
Kurt Bates.
Kurt Bates.
Yeah, a very good friend of mine. So I was demonstrating something for him when he came in to the store to buy something, and he offered me a job. And he said, my guitar player is leaving the band. I want you to give it a shot, see if you can fit the band.
Okay. He must have heard a little bit of you
something
right?
Like that. And then his guitar player, Tom Markowski, who was leaving his band to join the Captain and Tennille. So I went and did the audition. The band liked me, and I got the gig.
Nice.
That was a fat gig, 7 days a week, making very good money, steady, and we stayed at the Town and Country Hotel for over 5 years.
Wow.
To me, it was like
in Mission Valley? Or?
Mission Valley,
Mission Valley.
So that was my introduction into San Diego.
Nice.
So as you can
not
tell,
not a bad introduction.
Yeah, as you can tell, everything is being on the right foot.
Yeah.
If we go back to how I got to San Diego, I'll tell you that I was working in Mexico City before I exited Mexico City. I was working at the Aristos.
Yeah.
With the Love Army, one of my last gigs, the Love Army, and a friend that happened to be working at the embassy across the street. In one of our chats, I mentioned that I wanted to get out of town. Wanted to go to the States because I have a kid over here in the States. And, come visit me tomorrow. Went to the embassy the next day, and within an hour and a half at the most, I had my permanent residency in the United States. So I flew.
Just like that.
Yeah, just like that. And I flew to LA on Western Airlines, and they received me in the airport with a glass of wine.
Well, how amazing is that? I think we need to drink to that.
Oh, shit. Some more than so, it's been...
good things happen to good people.
So they just happened like that, and I got San Diego. And then I lasted with Kurt Bates for a long time.
Salud.
I had a good time, learned a lot from him. A lot. The guy was a great band leader, a businessman.
Is it the trumpet player?
He played trumpet and trombone and played flute, everything. He was an incredible guy. You actually traveled to the States with him, did Vegas, did like Tahoe and all that.
Yeah.
So after that, to the next step is when I was on my own. When I was on my own.
Because you did 5 years there.
Yeah.
And then you got tired of that, or what happened?
No. What happened to that, I don't recall at all, but I remember that I ended up on my own. I get what? Kurt Bates ended up with an old Mexican band behind him because of me.
You brought all the compas from Tijuana?
We were changing bands. I was his musical director. And I hired Ray Breeze on the piano.
Ray Breeze.
Marco Mendoza. Marco Mendoza right now is a big star in Europe.
No.
He plays heavy metal. Marco, pendejo. Watch it. It's a plug for you, bro. Marco.
Hola, Marco Mendoza.
Marco, in those days, he was so young that he would play with us, and he had to leave on the breaks in San Diego.
What does he play?
The bass.
The bass.
And sings his butt off, He became a big star in LA, and now he's in Europe.
Oh, wow.
Heavy metal guy, that is a wonderful singer. So I hired him too, and then Lalo Barcelo and me, we were quartet.
And Cesar?
No, Cesar came in later on.
Oh, okay.
Lalo played the drums. He was from a group called El Ritual. Lalo, and we made the Elements, and we were one of the best bands in San Diego. Played all the best clubs.
Nice.
Every gig was 2 or 3 years. That was the band that Kurt Bass had as a background.
Uh-huh.
And then later on, we left Kurt Bass and we went on our own.
Okay.
That band, I worked with them on
The Elements.
The Elements, yeah. Until I was we were touring Lake Tahoe, I think. We're doing the Vegas scene. Good money, uniforms, show band.
Okay.
I played in Lake Tahoe. I decided that I didn't want to be doing that when I was a little older.
Yeah.
I didn't want to wear the tight pants and do the steps and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
so I said, I've always enjoyed jazz, so I think I'm going to move into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was easier than it was, but it wasn't that easy.
Now, just to clear it up for me, what kind of music were you playing with that band? With
The Elements was a Vegas show band. We do the Temptations. We do medleys of
so covers of
covers.
those
Yeah,
times.
it was a Vegas type
Not
showroom.
No jazz, no Latin.
No. We did some Latin stuff, but it was all Vegas oriented. Imagine a
Okay.
Vegas lounge band in the 70s. Before all the
Okay.
kids showed up in Vegas.
Right.
They got a lot of vocals, and
Do you sing too?
just parts in the back, man. I'm not,
Okay.
but like Marco is a fantastic singer, and Ray does really good too. So it's the band was good. It was well presented,
Mm-hmm.
and we did a really good job. So after I left that band, I needed a transition and went into the jazz scene, which meant that I was going to be a freelance guy, no band, just a freelance guy.
Okay.
That required a ton of study because you get into a more competitive business. You go to the union, they have to call you.
Mm-hmm.
We need a guy from a recording session. We need a guitar player for a wedding. We need a player for a mitzvah. You got to go there. There's no rehearsals. You got to read the part.
Right.
So require that. Finally, luckily, I made it to that stage, established myself in San Diego, and started playing with my groups until I made it another band like the Elements, but this time was a Latin jazz band with Alan Phillips, Cesar Lozano, Peter Skravak from Czechoslovakia. Who else was there? Gene Perry and Kiko Cornejo.
Keyboard player was
Alan Phillips.
Alan Phillips. Yeah.
He's one of the best producers. He's in every one of my albums. He's produced them all.
Uh-huh.
He has Grammys and everything. Is really a good musician and a dear friend. So, Alan, I got that band together because one time, Peter Sprague, a friend from San Diego, called me to sell for him at the U.S. Grant.
Okay.
Put the band together. Peter didn't want to go back. I kept the gig. We stayed in that gig almost 13 years, playing Friday and Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
And from that situation,
Actually, I remember that's where I met you
Mhm.
because I was good friends with Cesar Lozano.
Yeah.
And I stopped there a few times.
the band was one of my best times in San Diego.
Very nice.
I had a great time in San Diego
Amazing
because
band.
those days downtown was coming up,
Mm-hmm.
Crochis and all that, and
Yeah.
downtown San Diego stopped being
The
big.
80s, right? Those are the 80s.
Yeah, it was the 80s around there. Yeah.
Now, can I ask you a quick question? You said that with your experience with Joe Pass, because that to me he's
Joe
like,
Pass?
Yeah, one of the
Yeah, Joe used to come to
legend.
Joe used to come to San Diego and give seminars and just hang there for 3 or 4 days.
Uh-huh.
And he doesn't make a lot of money when it comes to those things. He's just surviving too,
Yeah,
because the general public doesn't know who he is.
that's
So
true.
we met him like that, and then we were close to LA,
Mm-hmm.
and I had contact with him all the time.
Yeah.
And my experience with him was to learn from him. You just have to watch him. If you ask him, teach me something, he says, just watch.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't explain anything.
Really?
No, he doesn't gotta sit down and give you like a professor thing.
Uh-huh.
He just plays and tells you, open up, pay attention.
Well, because Jaime, you're an amazing jazz guitarist. You know, hearing your trajectory from when you started to all these bands and playing, you know, Mexican rock, covers, show tunes. When did you become this amazing jazz guitarist?
Well, I don't know about amazing, but
you are amazing.
But it's a situation where it sticks to you. If you hang around with good players, it sticks to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you always have to hang around someone better than you.
Of course, yeah.
All the time.
Absolutely.
And it sticks to you like that, and open your ears. 1 hour on stage with people like that, it's worth a whole semester in school.
True. So tell me, who were the people that influenced you to become the amazing jazz guitarist that you are
One of the
now?
guys that helped me the most directly, I mean, there's a lot of guys, everyone I played with, Mike Wofford, Holly, Hoffman, his wife, everyone that I played with influenced me, and Bob Magnuson, I mean,
amazing
he
bass
played with Sarah Vaughan, but everybody, I mean, his discography is huge, and I played with him almost 25 years.
Okay.
So every night, I mean, he recorded with Joe Pass, he recorded with all kinds of people. I mean, from Joe Pass to Rod Stewart.
Right, but what I'm trying to get to is you don't become an amazing jazz guitarist, overnight, right? But you played years and years. You didn't play jazz. You were not a jazz guitarist.
No.
Like, were you like after your gigs? Were you practicing
All the time?
Where people didn't know that you were actually a jazz guitarist,
No,
and then you had to moonlight as a band.
Well, in your gig, even in the cover gig, in the cover bands, you stick in those things. You try to change those things. You put your signature.
Put a little
licks in play there. Yeah. So the jazz thing comes out of doing jazz gigs.
Okay.
You can't do that, and you're not. You got to go into the gigs and play with the guys. And then feel how much you need to learn when you're playing with them.
Yeah.
That's how you do. And then you go back and you do. Otherwise, you don't know what to learn.
Yeah, very true.
You go with something specific. Go back to your house after a night with something like that. And I still do that. I mean, when I go to San Diego, I just played. My last concert in San Diego was July 31st at the Athenaeum in La Jolla.
Oh, that's a beautiful.
And I had Alex Acuna. I mean. John Pena, who else was on that gig? Osmaro Ruiz, all these giants of music, So when I left there, I had a lot to learn, to go practice.
You have to be at that level,
you have
or
to
else.
I know what, I hear this and I hear this. I have to go back and work on that.
Well, let me just say something. Audience, wait till you hear, those of you that may not know about Jaime, wait till you hear what he can do with the guitar. You're going to be amazed. That's for sure.
So it's the situation from the jazz gig. It was a freelance thing, and I had several gigs where I enjoyed a lot. The Tutemari gig in La Jolla that lasted me almost 13 years too. After the Equinox gig, the Equinox became a San Diego favorite. We were voted by the San Diego Music Awards best group for maybe 14 years.
Now let me clear it up for my own sake. You're playing all these different bands and all these different eras that you played, where you were really not a jazz artist as you are today. You talk about how you had exposure to very talented jazz artists. So then you get called. You go, okay, now this is a jazz gig, and then all of a sudden you have to take out your hat Now I'm going to play a jazz
Well,
guitar. It's not a
usually by the time somebody calls you on that, they already know you can do it.
that you can do it, right?
I mean, I didn't know that then, but I've done it now as an old guy. You know, I've gone from being the young guy. I'm the old guy now. When I see a new young guy that's got promise, and I call them, they might be nervous, but I'm not.
Right.
I know they can do it. And I told them, why do you think I called you?
Isn't that a wonderful feeling now that you're like on top of the world?
I've got a lot of young guys that tell me, man, you can play your butt off, man. I wish I could have played the way you play right now when I was your age. You know, and that is the case now. You know, a lot of the young guys are blossoming a lot younger.
That's true.
The education is advanced so much. Because in the days that I started studying, there was only one book, or there was almost nothing. You know, now you can go on YouTube and get all the education you want.
That's right.
You know, backtracks. You know, instruction, everything.
There's so much information out there.
Yeah.
Now, Jaime, one of the slight problems that I have with this starting this channel is the time, because some people, and I've been looking at my YouTube channel analytics, you know, and how long people are watching, et cetera, et cetera. So because of that, let's do this. Let's focus now on where you are now. What your future endeavors are, and then let's hear you play some music. What do you think?
Well, my endeavors, what I am right now, it's basically, I'm an old guy. I'm an old guy that lucky to be able to not have to do anything, you know. And before this pandemic happened, my wife and I, Elaine, our job was to travel the world. You know, the last travel trip we did was to Patagonia. We went to Buenos Aires and we went to the end of the world. Before that, we went we traveled the Mediterranean and all that. So that was our job.
It's your retirement, the golden years, as they say.
We had a good time. Yeah, that's it. And I play whenever I know that I've gotten I lost patience a lot. You know. Patience. You know, because I'm used to working with such professionals that I don't encounter them all the time.
Okay.
I had a clique where they were full professionals. Everything worked like this. Now sometimes if I'm doing a gig and someone is not up to that par, I get pretty excited.
Yeah.
And I have to mellow down because I'm not in the same clique anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it has happened in this town. You know, sometimes I go to a job. Yeah, I have to do it. To do a gig, and then not everyone is at the level that I'm used to.
And that's why you go to San Diego once a month.
Yeah. Well, and there's really good guys here, but the combination is not always perfect like it was over there. Everybody wasn't the top notch.
Yeah.
So that's what the station I'm right now, and so sometimes I'd rather take it easy and just listen to music and drink a little tequila and have a conversation.
Sure.
You know, and hopefully this pandemic will evaporate and we can go back to our routine if I'm not too old to move by then.
By the way, you look great. You look amazing.
But you can't guess how old I am. Oh, well, you told them already.
Well, I don't even remember the date, but you don't look old
74.
to me.
I'm 74.
Wow. Well, you look great. You sound great. You have good energy.
You know, es la música.
Yeah.
Keeps you going.
So do you have any endeavors? What are you planning?
Well, there's music always inside, and I probably, like Elaine, my wife, has said, you should record another album. Blah 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 blah. You know, so I probably will record another album. There's music out here all the time, and it won't sound like the other albums.
And that's a good thing.
I just got a call not long ago. I got an email from the people in Hong Kong. They were releasing this thing.
Oh yeah, we have to.
They were re-releasing this thing, you know.
Tell us a little bit about this. Yeah, the audience has to.
This I was playing at the B Street Cafe, 1994, 95. Somebody comes and says, "I'd like to record you." I don't have anything to record. We record what you did last set.
Yeah.
Okay, we went to the studio, called some friends to do that. You know, Alex Acuña's in here, Ernie Watts, blah blah blah. So we did the album. I didn't think much about it. we did it in a short session.
Uh-huh.
That this album lasts, what, 38 minutes? Well, it became a fast seller in Japan.
Uh-huh.
You know, and from there, I started to realize maybe I should record another one.
Well, let's show the audience.
This album, about a month ago, the people that recorded that album, that released this album, said, "We want another album just like this."
Really?
And I said, "I can't do it. I don't sound like that anymore."
Well, look, everybody. Jaime Valle, Round Midnight. It's audiophile, 180 GMLP, limited edition.
Yeah.
And this is an actual vinyl.
Yeah, you could get it on YouTube, but it's expensive.
That's amazing. And let me do another little plug in here, because this is also an amazing fact. Here we have the Enciclopedia Fonográfica
Del jazz, yeah.
del Jazz
En México.
en México, por Antonio Malacara Palacios.
Yeah.
And here we have none other than Jaime Valle. Look at that. En la J, pues ahí,
Yeah.
¿verdad?
You know you're old when you're in the encyclopedia.
Second edition, edición número 2, está Jaime Valle.
This is subsidized by the government too.
Qué hermoso. No, pues, y Jaime, eres
Te
ya
la doy,
una
te la
leyenda.
doy.
¿Me la das?
Te la doy,
¿Me la regalas?
sí.
Pero me la tienes que firmar,
Te
por
lo firmo
favor.
también, le pongo la huella.
Ay, muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Miren nada más esto. Segunda edición, Enciclopedia Fonográfica de Jazz. Aquí estoy con una leyenda. Estoy tan orgulloso de estar aquí con ustedes. Es un sueño de veras. Bien. Now, Jaime, what are you going to play for us today?
I don't know. We don't have any drums, so we can mess around a little bit with some little ballad.
A little ballad, okay.
Yeah.
And it's been a little tradition of mine where
I have something for you to read.
I bring my violin, and I'm a little. I'm going to tell you,
what?
I'm nervous.
No, listen. We can punch this in, right?
Yeah. So we're going to do Waltz for Elaine, your wonderful
we can do
wife,
that, yeah.
something that you just wrote, and you have music for me, except that I don't know how to read. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm one of the few violinists that can read and
that's
also
right.
play by ear.
Yeah.
So thank you. No. Okay, so we're gonna do that, and then I would love for you just to do something
Yeah.
jazzy,
Yeah.
something you do.
Do you remember the other one that you mentioned something about some Jewish connection you have?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
you see mine right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have one that is called, and we can mess around with it. It's called Vals Ladino. You know, the Ladino is the English or the Sephardic Jews.
Okay.
Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
The Ladino. Vals Ladino is one of my Jewish soundtracks.
Okay.
And it's a very simple thing. And once we turn this off, we'll sink our teeth in it, and you can tell me if you can do it.
Sounds good. So everyone, go ahead and stay there for a second.
Mhm.
Everyone, get ready to listen to Jaime Valle. It's going to be a treat.
Mellow treat.
Vamos a tocar valse para Elaine, tu querida
Vamos a dar
esposa.
una pasada, mira. Nomás tocamos la melodía, that's all, ¿me entiendes?
Okay.
This is the theme to the movie Love Always that Jaime wrote for his wife. You know, mira.
Dos, tres. Es un vals.
Sí.
Bravísimo, aplausos. Wow.
Se llama A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square. Es bien vieja la rola.
Do one more.
Okay.
Do one more. Jaime, my dear friend, thank you so much for opening your doors. I had such an incredible time here with you. Thank you for this beautiful interview. It's going to be set in stone. A lot of people are going to love this. Do you have anything to say to some of our friends like Jose or Alan Phillips or anybody look into camera 3 and say a little
first
something?
give you instructions about something that when I die, I want to be burned and mixed with a kilo of mota, and everybody smoke me. Now, if you don't do that, I want to come in the night and tug your legs. Okay, take two. Take two.
Take two.
No, sí quiero darle gracias a todas las personas que participaron en mi desarrollo, que estuvieron en mi vida desde pequeñín, desde los días del Boom Boom, amigos como el Concho, el Tacho, paz descanse, José Molina, my first roommate, José, bueno, ¿quién más? Todos, Pajarito, Lalo, Penny, el Blue, el muerto, que está muerto, todos los amigos míos que estuvieron conmigo en México, y también all my friends in San Diego, especially Bob Magnuson, Trip Sprague, Alan Phillips, César Lozano, Gene Perry, Kiko Cornejo, que en paz descanse. And the line, if I don't remember your name right now, it's because I'm 74. I'm forgetting some stuff, but not too much. And thanks to everyone that participated in getting me here. Okay, muchas gracias.
Gracias, Jaime. Él es Jaime Valle, yo soy Diego Mondragón. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. Salud, Jaime.
Échale más.
Le echamos más.